You guessed. Wait a minute. Yes, Graham Bennett, please. Yes, Mr. Bennett, my name is John McPherson with Camel City Chat, and I was calling, was wondering if you might be interested in doing our show. You would? Okay, when would, now? Okay, we're on our way. Thank you so much, sir. Talk to you soon. Bye-bye. Hey, everybody. Welcome to Camel City Chat, and I am here with my guest, Graham Bennett. And I really appreciate you seeing us so quickly. Of course, that intro for you is something that we thought of months and months ago before we even had a chance. We have a mutual friend, Rob Hill, and then, of course, was it Haywood? Got us together. Right. So thanks for doing this. It really means a lot to me.
You bet.
Yeah, so
my pleasure.
Yeah, well, 1929 is where we're going to start back at. But before we do that, I got to ask you a couple questions I ask all my guests.
Yeah, shoot.
Where are you from?
Yep.
How long you been here?
All right, born and bred Winston-Salem.
All right.
Born in 1952.
Okay.
Went to Chapel Hill. My first job was in Raleigh.
Right.
From probably 75, graduated 75 to 78.
Right.
And that's fond memories. That's where I met my wife, and everybody remembers their first job, And then came back here in October of 78 and been with the company ever since.
Right.
Yeah.
And now, did you work for the company some in grade school and high school and all that kind of stuff?
Every summer.
Okay, I was going to say, your first job.
Burner service, construction, whatever the grunt work, that's what we did.
Tie line, taking the trash cans out, all that stuff.
Yeah. And that was before convenience stores, so it was all service stations and fuel oil and burner service. And we did our own construction back then, and they loved putting me on the tamp because the tamp was bigger than I was, and if you didn't balance it just right, it was like riding a bronking bull. So I think they sold tickets to give Graham the chance at the tamp,
That's hilarious. It is. It's interesting growing up in a family business. You will have someone here that knows that you worked harder than you would have worked for anybody else, and that the expectations set on you were higher than anybody else. And I always love it when someone goes, I mean, he's working there because, his family. Yeah, you don't know. How many times were you fired by your dad?
That's an interesting story.
Because I got numbers for me.
Yeah, I never worked directly for him.
Right.
Which that was by design. He always put me with somebody. But I started working with the company. My first job was in the 8th grade.
Okay.
Vienna Shell, Bill Kimbrough was the dealer. It's funny how you remember stuff like that. And that was a full service station out at Pofftown.
Right.
And I worked Friday, Saturday, Sunday in the 8th grade. I made $5 a day. I thought I was the richest guy there ever was. And that was back when it had green stamps, full service. You washed the cars, you took the cars back, you brought them back. And I was taught that when that bell rang, nobody really knows what full service is, but you run across.
Yeah, he's getting ready to get his license in a week, so
right.
Yeah.
When the bell rang, you ran to the car. You didn't walk to the car, and that's when your oil changed. You checked the tires, you opened the hood, you did it all. But and come to find out, when he would pick me up on Sunday, I always saw him talking to Mr. Kimbrough. And then Mr. Kimbrough would come talk to me and say, well, you did a good job. That's when we actually chopped our own ice. We had blocked ice, you chopped it, and that's back in the old days. And, and come to find out, Dad was paying him $15 to work me. So Mr. Kimbrough had free labor and had no idea until years later when Dad said, yeah, we did that so that goes back to what you're saying. You can go two ways with the boss's son, the easy way or the hard way. And the hard way is the only way to walk in somebody else's shoes. And Dad was always taught me that it's a curse sometimes to be the boss's son. And if you don't think that, you got to outwork everybody. But this is either it works really well with a father-son or it doesn't, and there's generally no gray area. But I never remember one harsh word between me and my father in my young career,
Right.
all the way when I took over the company. And
You were a good kid. I got fired, I think, at least 3 times.
no, I wasn't a good kid. I made more mistakes than you can imagine. But he always had, what did you learn by it?
Right.
Now, if I made the fourth mistake in a row, then we'd have a different conversation. But he always said, "What did you learn by it? What did you learn?" So that was it was a very pleasant experience.
Yeah. My dad's 97, and I get the benefit of he comes back now once a month and works with me. He helps me do one of my mailings.
How cool is
Yeah,
that?
so he doesn't pay me anything, and he says he's gonna give me a raise and all that stuff. I'm like, Dad, you want me to pay you? No, I don't want anything. I wouldn't be able to complain about it if you didn't tell.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah,
but
that's right.
so it's a lot of fun, but no, I mean the reasons that I'm kidding about getting fired. I mean, I came in one time and said, well, you told me so and so is waiting on me, and they're not there. He goes, what? You accuse me of lying to you?
Oh yeah.
And it's like, yeah, no, Dad, I didn't. Go on home, son.
Yeah, that's right.
But it's you're never going to hear from me. Oh well, your dad on the no, you don't. People, you don't know what it's like to work for family.
Yeah, that's right.
And sometimes working with family, you have people that work for you that are family that don't really even do their jobs too. We've heard that about stuff too.
Well, that's the tough one. I've had peers in business that. That's a family dynamics and all that. But the way to do it is just if they don't have the aptitude or the work ethic, don't try it.
Right.
You got to nip it in the bud from the very beginning.
All right, back to some questions.
Yeah,
And then,
you
I
bet.
want to talk about this.
Yeah.
What is your favorite place to eat in Winston?
I tell you can't beat Village Tavern. I
Right.
think that's just a good one. River Birch on Robin Hood's a good one.
Another good one, yeah.
If you're looking for a higher end, to me, you can't beat Ryan's.
Right.
That's just a good old stable. Now, if you're looking for a good pizza, try the thin pizza at Vincenzo's, and that's been around since I was in high school. So off Robin Hood, there's a good pizza.
I think all of us has eaten it. I mean, didn't you go to the prom? Like
Yeah,
I went
that's
to prom
it.
to Vincenzo's
Yeah,
or
that's
whatever,
right.
or Paul's. It's
Yeah,
fancy.
right.
But all right, and then what do you like to do? You like to go down to Bailey Park and throw the frisbee. You like, what do you and your family like to do?
Yeah, I'm an outdoors guy. I love to hunt and fish.
Okay.
Mainly just as an excuse to be outdoors
Right.
and see the world go about.
And there's
by.
usually not cell service there.
Yeah, that's exactly right. That's another good one. But anything outdoors is where I enjoy my life.
You fly fish?
I do.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, that's why I'm getting ready to go.
Okay. Oh, that's what you're doing there.
Yeah,
okay,
that's
cool.
right.
Yeah. I haven't been. I think I went one time last year, but I need to go. Yeah, it's just getting in the. I mean, I love the cold water feel up to about right here.
Yeah,
and just
that's it. Yeah.
nobody bothering you. It's
Exactly.
really nice.
Yeah. It's like quail hunting or trout fishing, or it's more about the process than the
Right.
catching or the. Nobody do it if they had to eat and live off of it.
Right. That's true. So 1929.
Yeah.
A couple guys get together in December, and what the heck happens?
And think about they do it during the 1929.
Yeah, right. Just a
auspicious
depression going on,
start,
right,
but
yeah.
it was started by two gentlemen, my grandfather Bert Bennett Sr. And a fellow named Joe Glenn, and they were first cousins, I think.
Okay.
I knew they were relatives, but first cousins, and they started it, and it was was fuel oil.
Right.
But they were also the first ones to bring shell oil to North Carolina.
Okay.
And they started with the old scallops shape, and my grandfather and Joe Glenn actually designed it and patented it. It's not a shell design, it's just a quality oil design. Last one is on, as you know, Peachtree and Walltown Street.
How many were there?
I think 15 to 20 of them at one time.
And they were all you-alls? Or
Oh,
they
yeah.
Were, okay.
Oh, no, it was all 100% us.
Okay, so if you've been to the Shell station that is now a historical monument,
Right.
there were originally 15 or so of them, and your family company here
Right.
designed that, patented it, and
Right.
that's the last one.
The last one, and North Carolina Historical Society, we actually have got a little museum inside.
Right.
And It's well preserved on the outside and well cared for.
Right.
And the neighborhood has embraced it, and that's their historical connection, and it's a lot of people go by it. I love bringing the shell people, the big shots from Houston.
Right.
They'll come in and they pretend like they're coming to see us, but they really want to get a picture beside that shell scallop station. So they all go over there.
It's amazing to me too, because what you said, that's a lift over to the side, isn't it?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So
a drive-on lift.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. You drive on lift.
Yeah, it's not a lift. It's just you drive up.
Right. So that I can just get just enough clearance to get underneath it. But the thing that's amazing to me is that actually is very, very well preserved in that area. And a lot of cars stop each day, and it's just one of those neat. This thing's buzzing. It's one of those neat things that I always try and take people by to see, and I wish there was, I almost wish there was more stuff around that could, like if you even did more of a museum, but because it's not that big inside.
No, it's big as this little table almost. Yeah.
And that was a functioning station.
Functioning station.
Where'd they go to the bathroom?
There's a little bathroom in there. Yeah. It's a small one, but it's there.
There is not.
Oh, sure. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
We need to do a visit there sometime.
Yeah.
All
I'll
right,
take
cool.
you over there.
All right,
It is pretty neat. And the neighborhood is put the word out.
Yeah.
Don't misbehave.
Right.
So, they kind of watch over it for us.
That's so cool.
Great neighborhood.
Yeah. Because a lot of times in any area, people will take advantage of something like that because but it's so historic and it's so beautiful.
Pretty expensive artifacts outside. Those old
Right.
pumps aren't cheap and
Right.
hard to find. So, but they've been left alone.
Cool.
Yeah.
Now, so I don't think everybody knows what you all do, and this is what blows me away. I have a friend that worked for you. He's since retired, Rob, and it's like, you do what? And then, so I guess we want to start the process of 1929. We do fuel oil. Now, what is fuel oil defined as when we start out? Is that gas stations? Is that home oil? What is it?
Yeah, it's fuel oil that you heat your homes with.
Okay.
And we were on Howlett Street for a little while, but we really had Renolda and Northwest Boulevard,
Okay.
where there's a hamburger joint there now.
The gas station hamburger place is?
Yeah.
Okay.
That's where we were.
Okay.
Gas station on the bottom with bays and gasoline, and the top floor was my father's office and Jimmy Glenn's office, and behind it, as you move toward Pleasant's Hardware, if you remember,
Right.
all that was the fuel oil thing, and that was before natural gas lines. So everybody heated their house with fuel oil. So it was a big deal, and
what a great! You're opened up right there to the park and everything.
Yeah.
You're sitting right there,
right.
And so much stuff's going on. You got the porches over there now. All
that's
these
it. You
wonderful
got it.
hoots and
Yeah,
everything.
that's
And
it.
that was it. That was the corner of the hub.
And then, you go from fuel oil, then we bring Shell gasoline, and then we started building stations.
Right.
And back then it was all base stations. You put a dealer in there, he ran it, sold the gasoline, and it was consignment. You'd stick the tank every day or read the meters or whatever. Well, you stuck the tank, it really wasn't meter reading in
Right.
those days, but old mechanical pumps, no electronic at all. And so that then it morphed into, I'm going to say, 70s. It started morphing into some self-service stations that people want. What is that all about? Who would ever go to a self-service but it did. And then it morphed into convenience stores.
Right.
Rather than bays, you had convenience stores.
And what's a dealer? Explain. So
Yeah.
you own the building and everything, and then you put someone else in to run the company there?
Yeah, several things that were funny. It's but everybody understands convenience stores.
Right.
You own everything. It's fee simple land. You own everything. It's just a full operation. Every employee is a quality oil employee. That's
Right.
typical convenience store, and that's really what we do mostly of. But we also have these traditional service stations, like the one in front here,
Right.
Called Parkway Shell. And it's we own the land, own the building. We lease it to a dealer, owner-operator of such, and he pays us for the gasoline, but he also rents the building, and the bay is out, and it's his operation. It's totally his operation with our help.
So just like any other, shoebox that you're going to rent to run your store.
Exactly.
Okay.
And that's represents maybe 10% of our retail, maybe a little less, but it's an important historical piece that's still viable in its own right.
Yeah.
And in the late 70s, we got into the self-service business.
And I'm going to ask you to hold that thought.
Yep, go ahead.
Because you know what time it is. We're going to take a quick break. And you are not going to believe all of the things that Quality Oil is involved with in changing our community. We'll be right back with more Camel City Chat. Welcome back to Camel City Chat. And I mean, I'm just still, again, so thankful that you would do this with us. It's just a wonderful, wonderful company that you guys have. And of course, my guest is Graham Bennett. You are president of Quality Oil. And we were talking about the service station. Of course, we talked off camera about an owner operator, because I was asking if that's what you were talking about. And then now convenience stores are just, because that was something that K&S competed with a little bit, was the convenience store in a sense too.
Right.
And at some point we had a working relationship because you guys had magazines in your stores, and
we
so
did.
Piedmont News, you're one of our accounts.
That's right.
But tell me, let's keep going down that strip before we get to some of the crazy stuff that people understand.
Then the old dealer style stations, and then it morphed into some self-service, and then morphed into convenience stores.
Right.
And back then it was like mini mart, so the convenience stores were under the canopy with two sets of pumps beside of it. And then it became bigger stores, and of what we see today and what we're building today, bigger stores with food service, and I'll get to that in a minute. But in the 70s, we actually were enamored with self-service at that time, and we said, well, what can we do to be distinctive? And we invented something called the gas house. We call them Quality Pluses today.
Right.
And we had right many of them, and they were very successful. But you would build a unit, put a lot of pumps in front, all self-service, forced entrance, forced exit. You'd go by a window, and you would do your transaction through a window. We're still building them today, but not in this style. We put a couple in there. When they would shut the lights off, they would go to bed. They lived there.
Wow.
2-bedroom, fully furnished kitchen. It was a hoot.
That's what everyone needs, is a fully furnished
And
kitchen right next to a gas tank.
Yeah, well, it's very safe. But in the event, they would, and I remember our first one was in Danville.
Right.
And the same couple was there 35 years.
Really?
Yeah. Ralph and Lois. So we had right many of those. Now we don't do live-ons anymore. But the concept is still there, and we still build a building. It's through a sliding glass door, and I tell you, a sliding glass window, and people love it, particularly during COVID. They never had to get out of the car. They have the baby in the back seat. Never had to get them out. They go by the window, do their transaction, and off they go. Fast, quick, and easy. Mm-hmm. We mainly do convenience stores, but we still do a fair amount of those Quality Pluses.
And I'm going to dispel another rumor that I believe to be true too, okay? Mm-hmm. So one was that working for your family is, you've given your job. Number two is, it's my understanding the higher the price of gas goes, the less money you make.
Yeah, that's not intuitive, is it? You would think that, because people
Am
come
I
to
helping
us,
you out here?
Yeah, because
right.
The price goes up, and they go, oh man, you're getting us now.
Yeah.
And then if the price goes down, they'll come up to them and say, man, I'm getting you now, you
right.
know. But we are at the end of the food chain.
Right.
By the time it gets from Houston all the way up to us, we're the only fellow beyond our nozzle is the customer,
Right.
So we're at the end of the food chain with them. So, as the price goes up, we can't pass it on quick enough, so we eat some.
Right.
And so that makes it, when the customer feels bad, we're not doing so good either.
Right.
When it goes down, customer's happy, but we're able to squirrel a little bit too.
Right. Because of the fact that, the competition is, everyone's trying to have the lowest when it's the highest, and there's a lot of competition. And when it gets down, then you can kind of fluctuate a little bit because, hey, if it's $1.99 and I'm paying $1.93 over here, I'm still going to go to Quality Mart if whatever that is.
You got it.
Right.
It's what you said particularly is true. It's driven by competition in the street. A lot of times somebody might go north of town and south of town's different. They go, what's the difference? Well, the competition.
And you're not calling people and telling, hey, you do this and do that. And the reason why, and
No.
here's another reason, as
Definitely
realtors,
not.
we don't
On
do
the
that
record.
either. Yeah.
No, you
yeah.
wouldn't touch that with
no.
And why would you have to?
You get a couple people in a room and decide you want to talk about gas prices, you're going to jail.
Well, first of all, they really don't have to because
Right.
the price is on the street.
Right.
Oh, you don't have to be a genius to figure out what the price is.
But
Just
it's the
go
same.
look.
It's the same with real estate. It said, well, do you charge standard commission? No, this is what commission I charge. I don't know what someone else charges.
That's right.
Because I mean, that's what Taft-Hartley there. We don't mess around with that.
You don't.
I won't look good in orange.
Yeah, me neither.
And the convenience store is what people don't realize. The convenience store is really where the money is made in the gas, food chain in the sense of them, because you're making percentages on candy, percentages on drinks, et cetera, and stuff like that.
Yeah, the dynamics are a little different. Back in the old days, that might have been true, but now the cost to build something is so high. Back when I remember in the old days, you'd give your car wash away free just
Right.
for a fill up. You can't afford to give anything free anymore. It's just the cost structure is too high. So you really need to make it on gasoline. You got to make it on your investment on car wash. You got to make it on your convenience store. Now, what is wildly our gasoline margins can really fluctuate. You can look at it on any kind of trade journal and read that. But the inside margins are pretty consistent. I mean, it's just an inside margin like a grocery store. It's just a consistent margin, where gasoline can be volatile.
I always like to, whenever I know some stuff like that from being in the industry on our side of things, dispel, like you guys are printing money in the back. No, we got to. How many people are employed by Quality Oil?
About 1,400.
1,400. And that goes into other things. And so now we're getting into the fun stuff.
Yeah.
And we're getting ready to take a break, I know, probably. But so you did the convenience store thing, but then what were you thinking? You built a hotel?
Yeah, that's another good story. In '73, if you remember, that was the first oil crisis.
Was that the even odd?
Yes. Yeah,
I remember
and then we still have not in here, but we got a thing. You put it on. I remember working the station,
right.
And you have a sign, and you would say "last car." You talking about the cars were lined up, and you had to be the one, particularly at my size, going to a big old car with a big old fella in it, and I've got to put a last car, and the guy behind him is raising the devil because I have just told him this is where it ends, and he's been sitting in line for an hour. So I put that sign and ran.
So let's explain it, because for our one viewer here, Stabler, and
you don't know what we're talking about, do you?
My mom and dad had even and odd cars.
Oh, see, they got it made.
He would drive the odd car in, let's say on even day, to the city, and she'd take us and we'd sit in the line to get gas.
There you go.
So whatever the last digit of your license plate was, that if it was odd, you were allowed to get gas that day.
That's right.
But the last car, holy cow, that's like walking the end of the iPhone line and saying we don't have any more. They don't like that too much.
The reaction wasn't too good.
Yeah.
But I tell you, the civility of people are always, people like to complain about it, but generally the civility of people are pretty good.
Right.
Anyway, back then, Shell had said, look, we want to get real aggressive. We want you to grow. And at one time, before we got into independent, brand, we were the largest Shell jobber in the country, which was pretty good. And they were excited about that. So they said, we want a Shell station on every interchange on the interstates. And so they encouraged us to put one. And we had a fellow named Jim Bryant, who was in the Howard Johnson's business, but also a realtor. And he was finding these locations. And then he came to us and said, this thing is really working great, but I want to build a couple more Howard Johnsons. Why don't you be our equity partner, our finance? And we'll give 50-50. So he did the work ethic equity, we did the finance equity. And then we built them in '72, opened them in '73, oil embargo. Nobody was on the road, because who would get on the road when you can't get gasoline? And so they were in bad shape.
Right.
At one time they talked about just putting a fence and a guard dog in there until this thing was over. They didn't do that. But to his credit, he came to us and says, look, you can lose money as good as I can, and I'm having trouble with my Howard Johnsons. I'm going to give them to you. So he gave it to us and said, here's your hotel back. And so we were full owners at the time, but we didn't know squat. A fellow named Jim Slate was with us maybe 55 years, but he took it on. And that was where I cut my teeth, gasoline, but I cut my teeth in the Howard Johnsons on the hotel side, one in High Point and one in Rock Hill, South Carolina. And they came back, and back then, it was Howard Johnson's was, well, the reason you had a Howard Johnson because you couldn't get a Holiday Inn, kind of thing.
The Hojo.
But the Hojo.
Yeah.
But back then, they were the Cracker Barrel, they had the taffy,
they
had the hot dog,
Oh, yeah.
they had the clams, and they had interior halls as well as exterior doors. I mean, they had it made with big pools.
There was one on Stratford Road.
Well, that's right,
Yeah.
exactly. And I remember in Rock Hill, every Wednesday night, we'd have Tammy Faye with PTL, who was our biggest client, come down for the clams with all her friends. And Hulk Hogan's come down for the hot dogs, remember, specialty hot dogs. So, and then young Howard Johnson's ran them into the ground, and so we realized to get another franchise, and that's when we picked up Hampton Inn. The first one that we did was in Haynes Mall in Winston, and never have looked back. The Hampton brand, the Hilton brands have been real good to us.
So I'm out of it a little bit because my contact, of course, doesn't work here anymore since he retired.
Well, he was
the last one he did was
integral
what,
part
Asheville?
of our success.
Was Asheville? Where have you been since then?
Yeah, we had, well, that's the last one we did.
All
We're looking for one in another large city in North Carolina that I'm a little afraid to talk about at this time. But it's in a real high-end area of Raleigh. But we did downtown Asheville with a rooftop bar and a little restaurant, and it's doing well.
And so you all own that and
operate it.
And operate it.
Right.
Okay.
We figured we'd rather make our own mistake than blame somebody else for it.
Yeah.
And which we sure have made a lot of them.
And so then we've got a couple more minutes. Maybe we can start on this, because now, when I said earlier, it was now people really understand why I talk to you, because I'm a realtor. So over off Renolda area, there's this place called Greenbrier. What do you know about that?
Yeah, that's interesting. That was our first. We went into partnership, and we had 350 acres. It was Dr. Doug Young's dentist in town. Actually, my dentist as a kid.
Right.
And he had his home place there, and we ended up buying, I think he had maybe 600, don't hold me to that one, but we bought about 300 and some acres and did Greenbrier and built it out, and it was great.
Now,
Rick Crowder and his company was our partner in that.
Right. And so did they not do Arbor Run?
I don't think they did.
Somebody, I thought, or maybe Jim, did Jim do Arbor Run? So I always say that Arbor Run's the oldest, and then they did, in Louisville, then Greenbrier's the middle kid, and the other one that we'll talk about after the break's the baby.
Yeah.
But maybe then I'm wrong, I guess.
If it is, we were just more financial partner at that time.
Right.
So, but that one, Greenbrier turned out good.
It's okay.
Yeah.
It's okay.
Yeah.
We'll take a quick break, and we'll be right back. Graham's going to start telling us about this little small project you got going on over off of Medlark, right?
Fair enough.
Yeah. All right. We'll be right back. More Camel City Chat. Welcome back to Camel City Chat. Graham and I have been talking about a whole bunch of stuff. This, of course, is Graham Bennett, president of Quality Oil. And, the thing that amazes me is the next subject, and that's this, I guess you guys talked to the Gray family about something and maybe purchased an acre or two over off of Medlark. So tell us about Brookberry. Holy cow.
Well, we had were on the backside of Greenbrier, and that relationship was good. And we were looking for something else. And quite frankly, being in the gasoline and cigarette business, and we were looking for some entity that was not gasoline,
right?
Kind of diverse our operations a little bit, and did have a good feeling for how Greenbrier went. So we rolled into the 800-acre development that was part of Bowman Gray, and I know who you've talked to, Bo.
Yeah.
And Bo couldn't have been kinder doing all of it. And quite frankly, once we got it, preserving the heritage and helped us with good advice. And actually, we sold the manor house to someone that grew up here, Berkeley, and Burke Ingram's daughter, Berkeley, and she has bought that house and refurbished it. And Bo actually found some old furniture that figured out how to go back. But
He's a good guy.
The 800, he is a great guy and been most kind to us. But we ended up buying it and developing it, and '08 hit, and that kind of stopped people in the tracks a little bit.
Just
but
a little.
that's okay. It's been a great development and a diverse, and I'd say that we started with really higher price houses everywhere, and now we've realized that this community needed a different product, different price points, as long as it was appropriate for Brookberry, and that's what we've been working real hard at. And we're probably we've just crossed the creek, which was a big thing for us, and so we're well over halfway,
Right.
And things are going great.
It's a phenomenal development. I don't
Turned
think
out good.
It's turned out okay.
Yeah.
You might have made $1 back on that one.
Well, I think it's represent the community nice. It's when you ride around the neighborhood, a lot of it's back to nature, and it's a lot of walking trails. And I think people today, they like a swimming pool, but they want outdoor living more than anything else.
I love your amenities package in your two developments.
Yeah, good.
You know, I mean, so I live in Brookberry. If I want to, I can go rent the barn or whatever like that.
Right.
If you live in Brookberry, you can go and have the something out on the pond and that screened-in porch. I mean, you guys have done all the
You're very
amenities.
familiar with it. Then.
Well, I don't live there.
That's
good. I might need a rate. I'm just kidding. No, I have a lot of friends that live out there, and I've sold several homes out there. We had looked out there, but couldn't find what we were looking for when we were looking a couple years back. But what I will say is we've had a neighbor just recently, I think, move, and they're going to build in there.
Great.
And I do some stuff with Jonathan Lee with the Home Builders
yeah.
Association.
Great. One of
he built
our
custom for
outstanding builders.
Yeah, and I could name Rich Acre. I mean, there's so many out there.
You got them all.
It's
more diverse today. If you were looking today, you can find a product that would.
I think so, and
more so now than ever before.
And when if I didn't have a child, then I'd be up in the front there at the close entrance to
the villages.
Yeah, because
that's turned out nice.
Yeah, you've done excellent. And plans for another development are going to finish.
Well, we've still got some legs to go yet on this one, and we've got a great team here that runs it. Construction, real estate, and finance, and just got some terrific talent with a lot of imagination and always thinking. And our partner is Berkshire Hathaway,
right? And
they do us a great job in regard to always giving us their breadth of knowledge that they have across this country.
Yeah, they've got some good agents.
They sure do.
Job on that.
Yeah.
Now, all right. So we've done developing, we've done gas, oil, convenience stores. We've done, hotels. I mean, is there anything else? Yeah,
we're pretty big in the transportation business. We actually have Reliable Tank Line. It's a separate LLC, but it's part of us. And, we're still in the fuel oil and propane.
Right.
But the Reliable Tank Line is a common carrier, and we probably represent 30% of its business, internally. The rest of it is hauling for other customers. We like the CSX railroads or other convenience stores, Ingalls, Lowe's Foods. So that's a growing business in different terminals from Spartanburg to Belton to Greensboro to Selma, Roanoke.
So you actually provide oil for the trains for CSX?
We did.
Okay.
That's a contract thing. We're out of it now, but hoping to get back into it. But yes, that's what we did, and we'll run it down to Hamlet and I think Sherrill. But that was a good customer for us. But we just haul fuel oil or haul gasoline.
So if I'm an independent,
we'll haul for you.
Okay.
Yeah. yeah. That's a growing, and oddly enough, our off-road, which is part of our fuel oil and propane. Propane really is grown in the agricultural and the 120s and the fire logs and a lot of heat and non-gas territories. Fuel oil is still alive and well, if you know. But where we're growing is the off-road, where you go, what is that? Well, it's grading jobs. So it used to be if you were grading a site, whether it be Brookberry or a shopping center, it might last 2-3 weeks. But now you can get on a highway grading and be on there for 2 years. So that's our, and we're really growing that nicely. And we got a Raleigh operation, Charlotte and Winston. And so it's, we've become that's been a nice piece of business providing grading. And oddly enough, we've gotten into emergency management, where if someone has a hurricane down in Florida, all the Duke Powers and the Pikes of the world go down there. Somebody's got to be down there to fuel those trucks to keep them going.
Wow.
So we've kind of developing an emergency management to follow that crowd down there, and we got it down pat pretty good to keep them rolling. Mm-hmm. Which means generally they work all during the day. We fill them at night, so they're ready to go in the morning.
And hopefully you got a hotel close by, right?
Well, that's all. You know, that's yeah. Unfortunately, we never go to where we have our own hotel. But
right.
We've had to figure out, and who knows, just stay where you can stay.
Well, let's do something different.
Yeah, you bet.
All right, you ready?
Yeah.
Let's reminisce.
Well, let's go.
So you were born here in town.
Yeah.
Where'd you go to school?
Went to Summit, and then went off to school, and then went off to Chapel Hill.
Okay, right. And so, what was it like on Renolda Road when you were growing up?
Yeah, that's funny. First of all,
had they done the Renolda House and all that stuff?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I mean, but had they made it in the shops and stuff like that? No, right?
No, no. That was.
And when were you born?
52.
So what? Wake was here when? 58?
Something like that.
Okay.
I can't remember.
Yeah, it's okay.
But the only thing I really remember is you get home from school, right. And most of us back then played middle school sports, right. And you know that's when the coach, he put you through the paces. First of all, the teacher was allowed to whip you. Right. You know, hell, they would whip you, and the last thing we would ever say is the teachers, "Well, I'm gonna tell your daddy." Whoop. Stop right there. That paddle, go get that paddle. Yeah. Let's get out of the way. But don't tell my dad, you know. But you'd go to play sports, and then you come home. The first thing every mother would say is, get out of the house and don't come back until dinner. So everybody was out in the streets. You remember, right. You know, everybody. And a lot of them didn't have air conditioning at the time. We had a big old attic fan, but everybody would go out. And so you'd have the best time in the world with the neighborhood, and nobody even thought anything about anything. Everybody was just running, and the mosquito truck would come, and you take your bike and follow the mosquito truck. You wouldn't even think twice about what they do.
Please don't.
So there's your big one. Is the environment. Everybody just enjoyed the outdoors, and kids played out, and nobody was scared of anything. Now it's a different environment out there.
What are your fond Winston-Salem memories? Any places? Yeah. Cruising Stratford Road. I did that. I don't think you did.
And we were, oddly enough, involved with the Staleys. We actually built the Staleys and had a relationship with old man Staley. Was it
Sam's Gourmet that was in Thruway?
It was, but that wasn't us.
No, I'm just saying that's what I remember. Yeah. The other is the K&W blowing up.
Yeah, I remember that one too. My memory is going downtown as a kid.
Getting clothes.
And your dentist was downtown. I remember Dr. Spoon was in the Nissen building. Right. You had Bocock Strad. You had the two movie studios was a babysitting. Right. You know, you'd be dropped off in the morning and picked up in maybe the afternoon after goofing around at the movie theater.
And wasn't there a Penny's downtown?
It was a Penny's and a Sears. Yeah. Tallheimers was down there, and then a Sears. I remember they had the caramel marshmallow candies wrapped in wax paper that was dynamite.
I'm noticing your butterscotch over there. By the way.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, but then downtown goes to shopping centers and like the Thruways, and then the Haynes Mall, and so downtown was dead. But now look at it; it's as live and active, and Wake Forest with Innovation Quarter, and through the graciousness of Reynolds giving all those buildings away and our leadership. I mean, that's what you're doing here is celebrating the city that we live in.
Well,
but downtown is really remarkable, the difference from a kid being alive in my teenage and college years, dead, now as live as he could be. So
it is funny because, you know, when I called you and you called me back, you were like, oh, no, I'll absolutely do that. I love what you're doing. And I don't think of it as doing something. This is, as I told you, it's to cure a vice of I've always done like a radio show or something like that. But it also allows me to meet great people like you and learn about stuff. And you know, I appreciate you saying what you said to me about that. It's fun.
Winston-Salem is a lot to celebrate.
Yeah, and you know the reason why it's funny when you said Staley's. I remember Staley's and all that stuff, but with Sam's Gourmet, there was my dad to this day still says that a guy that used to work. Do you know Jim Martin? His dad was Earl Martin. Earl Martin.
Yeah, I do know the one in finance here.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, James.
Nice guy.
Yeah.
We
So
were
his
in,
dad.
Wig blows together or something like that.
Okay.
Boy Scout thing.
His dad, my dad, feels like put Sam's Gourmet out of business because they had like the $2.99 salad bar, and Earl was about this big around but could eat, you know, the whole salad bar.
Well, which one had the shredded lettuce that was so good?
Well, I knew
Town
Carriage-
Steakhouse?
Carriage
too.
House and Town Steakhouse. Yep.
And then one of them would bring you the cheese and crackers and pickled watermelon rinds.
That was the cheese in the container. I think was Carriage House.
I think that's what it was.
But you know, and that's funny too, is to go back and think about all the stuff. As I told you, I want to have a guest here that grew up here, and he and I were sitting in Nashville at a National Realtors event, and he goes, "You remember that? You remember that?" So, you know, when we come back from break, we want to talk a little bit more about the quality, oil and mart and all that stuff, and I also want to talk about where you see Winston-Salem going and things you want to talk about. And if you've got stuff here that we need to see, please tell us. And I mean, this is
old stuff.
Look at that. That's a tie.
Yeah.
Wow. So we'll be right back with more Camel City Chat here. Welcome back to Camel City Chat. I'm here with Graham Bennett, president of Quality Oil. And, you know, I haven't asked you this. You led me down the path, and I didn't even go down this path. I realize that. So you met your wife. Now, you have kids, family. What's going on with people? Do you have kids working for you?
Well, actually, indirectly. Let's see. As I said, I met my wife in Raleigh.
Right.
We were both working for Governor Jim Hunt at that time.
Okay.
One of the best experiences that I've ever had. Worked 3 years, a year in his campaign, 2 years in his administration, and my office was right next to his, and so I got to see firsthand that.
Were you his AA?
I was head of all his boards and commissions and his county organizations kind of thing, and saw where there is a noble cause in politics and government, and he was there because he thought the good Lord tapped him on the shoulder to be a public servant, and he worked all the time. I tell you, he was a workingest guy, and you never went to bed thinking anything bad was going to happen, you know, integrity or character-wise. He was just that good. So great experience, and met my wife there. I've got 3 children, 5 grandchildren. I have my daughter and son-in-law who actually works here.
Okay.
He graduated from Carolina, got his law degree at Wake, and now getting his MBA at Duke. So, but one of the nicest fellows you'll ever meet, but he's here. So luckily we got some really smart talent. And I have my brother, Jimmy, who is 12 years younger than I am. He was the youngest of 8 children in my dad and mother's family. And he's with us. He sold his company and did great, and got bored, and I caught him at a weak moment and convinced him to come over here. So
those are the best ones when it's like, hey, it works for everybody.
Yeah, that's right. So succession and leadership and a heritage of family will still be here for a while.
Now, there were 2 founders, and your you're obviously the Bennett side. The other founder was,
Joe Glenn.
and his family still works here too, right?
Yeah, his brother, Jimmy Glenn,
Right.
who worked with my father, Bert Bennett, and he was here with his son, Kirk Glenn.
Right.
And so really, for a long time, it was Jimmy Glenn, Bert Bennett, Kirk Glenn, Graham Bennett,
Right.
the two families. And I'm the last one standing, but Kirk is still on our board and was just a great mentor, and still here and still active as a board member.
Yeah. So we're 3 generations, 4 generations with your
Yeah,
kids here. That's
exactly.
crazy, isn't it?
Yeah.
And it's
yeah.
usually that first to second where it happens. if
Well,
it's
the
gonna
third is supposed to screw it up, which is me. So thus far, I'm hanging
you're
in
trying
there.
your best, right?
I've been pretty lucky thus far.
You're
So,
trying your best.
Yeah. And the 3 boys, the 3 grandchildren live about 5 minutes from me.
Okay.
And then I've got 2, my son and his wife, and 2 daughters live in Edinburgh, Scotland, while she's getting her her PhD over there. And he's in the film business.
I know you don't go visit them at all, right?
Well, I tell you this, it's too far away.
Okay.
Thank goodness for FaceTime or
But you
whatever.
play. You play golf?
I play at it enough
Right.
to try to avoid it. Rather go hunting and fishing.
Right.
Yeah.
I noticed this picture over there. When did you get that?
Where?
The last clamshell.
Yeah. How about that? Somebody gave that to me. I think there's a Winston store that's pretty good. Camel City store.
Right. Well, I think I know who did that.
Yeah.
That's interesting.
And
Awesome.
somebody gave that to me. Yeah.
Well, I want to ask you where you see us going, and then maybe we can just do a couple little teasers or something
Sure.
to show. You've got the plans for the actual Shell station, so I want to see that. Maybe we can use that as a clip or something.
Yeah,
But
you bet.
Where is Winston going, and how are you liking it getting there?
Well, the progress of Winston has just been dynamic. If you look at the past, you have Reynolds, Piedmont Airlines, Haynes Underwear, Hennis Trucking, McLean Trucking. Of course, you had the hospital. But, you look around, a lot of those big boys are not what they were at that one time. And they were, you think about the leadership and the strength of it. And then we kind of went ways we didn't really replace them. But so a lot of hard work to build downtown, build companies back again, make it attractive to stay. I think we've done, if you look at last 5 to 10 years with some leadership of key people in this town, it's really a remarkable, and I think we were ranked as one of the best cities to live in now, economic development as well as just quality of life, and our universities and our medical, our highway systems close to our airport, and just PTI just announced the boom, which was a pretty cool thing, and then you got Toyota battery. But I tell you another thing, you look at that old Energon building that Don Flo's done and put all the entrepreneurial ship feeder companies in there, and I think we will rank right behind Austin, Texas, in regards to the entrepreneurial environment. So it's amazing what a town of Haynes Underwear and Piedmont Airlines and Reynolds, which were just wonderful companies, Wachovia, and now we have morphed into more of an emerging fun city, and the downtown vibrancies like Austin, and now the entrepreneurial spirit and all these companies that are coming out from this entrepreneurial effort, with some traditional companies like Quality Oil Company that's still out there and modern, with the Fowler family, Don Flo and David Neal. So there's a lot of generational companies that are still hanging in there and giving back. But the entrepreneurial spirit in this town is really an attractive, puts us on an innovation quarter. Has put us, and Dr. Tyler with all that regenerative information, we have come quite a way, and I think that's a predictor of the future. I think the end of the day is we have put ourselves to make the future even brighter.
All right, sir. We're almost done.
That's good.
The question no one likes. Mr. Bennett, what do you want to be remembered for?
Oh, yeah. It's funny, when you're young, you want to be remembered for making it and whether it's monetarily or whatever, just making it, what the hell that might mean. But I hope my grandkids say I was a kind granddad. Folks here would say I was kind and did the right thing. So you kind of, age kind of mellows you until answer it right.
I think you're doing okay.
Well, you work at it every day.
Well, I really, really appreciate you taking the time to talk to us today.
My pleasure.
I'm looking forward to seeing this plan, and it's neat. I had no clue that you guys were the ones that patented that, and something we learned, and you know, we just really appreciate you being here.
Well, you do great work. Thank you for what you
so
do
much,
too.
Yeah, and Smitty's Notes is celebrating 25 years, so we want to thank Jeff Smith for sponsoring us out. Check out smittysnotes.com. And more about you guys. I mean, I learned a lot of the stuff that I asked you questions about on your website. You guys got a great website, a lot of history, and so make sure to check you guys out there. And of course, where do they buy their gas?
Got to buy it from us.
Okay, that's good.
It'll cure COVID.
Well, we appreciate it, and thanks so much.
Likewise.
We'll be back with more Camel City Chat next time.